Hey everybody, back for another retro review, and this time I'm reviewing Batman and Robin, the sequel to Batman Forever. Batman and Robin stars George Clooney as Batman, Val Kilmer. I read somewhere, I didn't read much into it, but I read somewhere that him and Schumacher had problems, so he was out of the film and he was replaced with George Clooney. Um Chris O'Donnell, of course, returns as Robin. Alicia Silverstone plays Batgirl. I think his name is Jeep Sweepson. The late great Jeep Sweepson plays Bane. Arnold Schwarzenegger plays Mr.Freeze, and plays Uma Thurman plays Poison Ivy. Once again, this is going to be controversial, but I thought this was an awesome movie, and I think this movie is criminally underrated. I think the venom, the hate this movie gets is totally unneeded. I think people over exaggerate the hate of this movie. I think this movie, of course, along with the first four, are way better than Nolan's entire trilogy. I love what they managed to do. I love what Schumacher managed to do with this film, despite having the handcuffs on. On when I remember watching this film back in '97 and loving this film. I remember buying all the merchandise. I talked about it with my friends the next day at school. And I've enjoyed it ever since. It wasn't until I got older where I discovered things like Wikipedia, where I learned things like Wikipedia and MINB, where I learned that people hated this film. I saw the Razzies, all the negative critics. I was like, why did people hate this film? To this day, I still don't get why people hate this movie. But yeah. Of course, they like to say it was comical and cheesy. Who cares? As long as the screenplay is good, and as long as the script and acting stuff is good, who cares whether it's dark, or light or dark? In my opinion, I don't want it to be too dark where to the point it's either bittersweet or just not enjoyable or insulting, or I don't want it to the point where it's too light, where it's too kiddie and not funny and terribly insulting. This movie was a action comedy. This was like a comic book come to life, a cartoon Batman. That explains all the over the topness. But I thought this film, just like the last one, I thought this film had a pretty good story. I love how it continues from Batman Forever and the Burton movies, despite the different cast, the different direction, and the different tone. I love the situation Batman and Robin are put in. I love the action sequences. And I love the costume design. Especially Batman, of course, has the same suit as he had in the last film, but Robin got a new suit in the last film. His first costume he had in the circus, in his first costume, he had a costume similar to the '90s animated series. Then later on in the film, he got an updated muscle tan armor version of that same costume. And then in this film, he has a costume similar to Nightwing, only with the cape. And towards the end of the film, he got a updated costume, updated black and silver or black and gray costume that would later be used for Ozymandias in the 2009 film The Watchmen. I love the costume design. Mr.Freeze, Uma Thurman looked awesome. And Bane was badass. This was my introduction to Bane. Poison Ivy and Freeze I already knew from the animated series, and but Bane, of course, they didn't really stay true to who Bane was. He was mostly just a mute. He was mostly just a mute who just grunts a lot, and he was just mostly dumb muscle for Freeze and Uma Thurman. But he was a threat to the Batman, and he looked awesome, and he looked like the character from the comic book, which is word I could say for the Nolan version, which in my opinion, as awesome as much as I love Tom Hardy, that wasn't Bane. Um, I thought Bane was awesome in this movie, despite the fact he probably should not have even been in this movie. Then, I mean, you could have got just another muscular guy who looks just like him and had him as Freeze's dumb henchman or Poison Ivy's dumb henchman. But yeah, if you had to fulfill that rule of the dumb, muscular bodyguard type character, Poison Ivy pretty much was just like Poison Ivy, except she was more over the top, campy, and cheesy. I loved Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, and the Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love Arnold Schwarzenegger as Freeze. A lot of people bash his performance because of the ice puns, but if you know the history of Freeze, when Freeze first appeared in the comics and in the Batman Adam West Batman television show, he was a cheap, cheesy, campy villain with an ice gun and always making puns. It was the 1992 animated series, Bruce Timm animated series, that reimagined him as this tragic anti-hero type character, which was elements of that were used in the film. He's not evil for the sake of being evil. He's trying to save his wife's life, and of course when she dies, or thought to have died, he wants to make Gotham and everyone suffer for it. He's not just a bad guy doing bad things for the sake of doing bad things, like the Joker was, and what's his name, and I love Robin's character in this film. Him and Batman are constantly he's constantly arguing with Batman. He's constantly whining because he feels Batman doesn't trust him, and Batman is treating him like a second banana, is babysitting him, not really giving him a chance to prove himself. And Robin is young and reckless, and Batman is just looking out for his well-being, and pretty much the whole film shows pretty much the bad guys playing the divide and conquer game, where they're dividing Robin and Batman. They're dividing Robin and Batman and winning. But when Robin and Batman put their differences aside and come together for Alfred, who was getting sick, they prevailed and managed to stop Freeze, Bane, and Poison Ivy. Batgirl, of course, Batgirl in this film. Now that I'm older, I think it's stupid that she's Alfred's niece. But I thought Alicia Silverstone was pretty good as Batgirl, despite the fact she wasn't English. She wasn't from English. She was pretty much a normal Caucasian. But other than that, it was cool. Like I said, I love the new neon blue comic book city, and I love the and rapper Coolio has a cameo in this film, and professional wrestler Jesse the Body Ventura has a cameo in this film as one of the officers in Arkham Asylum with Freeze. And like I said, Coolio has a cameo in this film with as one of the biker gangs Batgirl leaves the Batmansion to join. Like I said, I think this film is awesome and way better than what most people give it credit for. All right, the Super Vader 400 out.